What's up, DFW, and what's up with new construction in DFW? Is that a wise choice? Are new homes a good idea? Are new communities a good investment? And do home builders have your best interest at heart? We're getting into it today. This is DFW Real Estate Weekly. I'm Todd Tremonti, and boy, am I not alone in studio today. We've got a full gaggle in the studio. Full team. We got a bunch of folks to comment on different aspects of new construction in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as it is real in our market right this very second. We've got Gibson, full-time buyer specialist, spending a lot of time on the Dallas side, helping people make wise choices around all homes, especially new construction. We've got Mari from the Fort Worth side of the Metroplex. You've seen her on the show a bunch as well as Gibson. Here to make sure that we know all the pros and cons of new construction around the Metroplex. And then we have the Yanni Donnie, the English wonder himself, team lead of our little team here at the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team, here to comment, keep us honest with some statistics. And then full price Courtney, producer extraordinaire in the background, usually yelling, woo, is with us as well.
She is.
Let's get right into it. A lot of times there are questions, especially in seasons where inventory is changing, meaning the amount of homes that are available in the market are changing. We get questions of, is now a good time to buy a new home? Is now not a good time to buy a new home? And I want to open us up with an idea that I've been sharing for, I want to say 18 plus years, maybe 20, maybe not quite 20 years, that I just don't hear any other real estate agents, real estate brokerages, or residential real estate commentators ever say. I don't hear anybody else talking about this. And that is that a new home community has a sort of predictable life cycle to it, and we don't talk about it. And this is the one time that I think it is appropriate to compare residential real estate to the car industry. And the example I've used with clients for, like I said, almost 20 years, I've been doing this well over 20 years, but I didn't develop this thought right away, is that when you buy a brand new home, if you are not careful, if the situation is not ideal, then it is going to act like a new car. And the second you move in and it's no longer a new home, it's going to be worth less. And that is not something that gets talked about in residential real estate. It's also not always true. But in the right or wrong situation, in the right or wrong neighborhood, in the right or wrong timing, that can be true. And because of that, I think a lot of people have been hurt or burned by new construction, and they never saw it coming. They didn't have that suggestion, that advice, that warning given to them. So they bought a new home, they loved it, they ended up needing to move, and they lost a bunch of money on it. And they ended up hating the builder, hating the realtor, hating the taxing authority, and hating everybody involved. And so I've been around that enough to know that it's a warning that we ought to give viewers, listeners, and of course we're giving our clients all the time. So just really quickly want to go to our two agents, live reporters from the field, out helping buyers all the time. How does this coming up in conversation when you have a buyer and let's just say they're interested in new construction and you can see some of these elements starting to come into place? How are you communicating that? How do people respond to that? Do you feel like this is an issue that we ought to be making people aware of? Either one of you or both of you. Jump in when ready.
It starts early in conversation for me. I think I try to highlight the few flags that are already going to be in play, simply in the fact that you've got a builder building said end product in their home. They are going to provide their own contract, which is specific to said builder. They do not operate on the Texas real estate contract. And then, of course, they're going to incentivize you to use their lending department. And normally those incentives are great and position you to not even consider using other lending parties.
Okay, let me jump in, because everything you're saying is worthy of more conversation. So we'll make some notes and we'll hit those before we wrap the episode up. But Mari, let's go to you really quickly. Let me give you a hypothetical, and then you kind of tell me how you feel like, could this be good or bad, or how would you caution or point a client towards or away from this, all right? So you got a buyer and they're like, hey, Mari, we were driving around, we saw a new community going in. There's no homes there yet, but we saw the sign, and it says there's going to be like 8 or 9 phases, and we're interested in going and getting one of the very first houses over there. There's some incentives, like Gibson was saying. They're going to give us a little discount. We can pick pretty much any lot. But this is going to be like 2,000 new homes, and we are excited. We're thinking about being one of the first couple of homes over there. Can you help us? What would you say here?
I would say, well, yes, of course I can help you. However, some things to keep in mind is there are some probably negatives and cons to being the first in a new build community and just buying a new build in general. Obviously, some pros, obviously some great things, but keep in mind that because they're building multiple phases, you're going to have noise and dust and construction for a long period of time, and maybe right next door even.
And what we often hear in the scenarios where somebody then wants or needs to sell one of those is they're like, hey, how come none of the buyers are interested in my house?
You got a lot of competition.
And the answer is, well, the exact same house is 8 houses down, and it's only like $2,000 more.
It's brand new.
And it's brand new.
Yeah.
No one's ever sat on a toilet in that house ever. Right. And for some people, that's worth more than $2,000.
That's
right.
Yeah.
No one's dog has ever been in that backyard.
Right.
No one's scuffed the walls.
And you got the builder warranties.
Yeah. And you could choose your own granite upgrade or quartz or whatever. So this is the issue that people don't think about when I gave kind of the new car illustration. Everybody's heard someone say, that car's going to lose a bunch of value the second you drive it off the lot. That's what people say, just to be negative about new cars. Well, people are often not negative about new homes, and we're not trying to be negative, but we want to caution people that just because it's big and new and shiny, or new and shiny and incentives, or they've made it simple for you, doesn't always mean it's best for you. Now, of course, like Mari said, there's a lot of positives about that, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're first, you're early, you're new, you get to pick your choices, you get to pick the lot. All that's good. We like all those things. We just want to make sure people are aware. A lot of people will say, oh, we're not planning to move for 20 years. Great.
Right.
Have your plans ever changed? Has anything ever changed? That doesn't mean don't do it, but it means, okay, if you're going to buy early phase, you just need to be aware that they're stating 8 phases. You got 7 more phases from the same builder with the same general economics. So probably going to be selling in the same price ranges that you're going to have to compete with if you were ever to sell. And then there's just the logic, like you said, there's going to be a pallet of bricks on your road for the next 5 years. There's going to be dust and concrete trucks and nails in the road. You're going to replace 3 more tires than you normally would have.
That's right. And, you know, the community may offer a pool and a playground and a park and walking trails, but those may not be done yet.
Right.
Sometimes those don't go in until 3rd phase or whatever.
Well, and
Takes time.
it's part of the builder's financial model a lot of the time. Like, okay, once we have X number of homes sold, then we can either fund or borrow to fund the parks and the trails and it's become really popular to have these lagoons and these giant developments around DFW. But you may be year 4, 5, or 6 in a neighborhood before the lagoon is there. Now, there have been some in DFW that they did build all of that first. And so they sold out multiple phases in a pre-sale. That can happen too. The big picture of what we're saying is it's not easy. It's not one size fits all. You're going to want to be cautious and aware of all these things that are going on. And we'll dig into that a little bit more here in just a second.
Well, and Todd, you're with that particular situation, you were asking about being the first phase.
Yep.
But what about if it's a later phase?
Yeah, love that question. And I'm happy to get your input here, Gibson, as well. But so this is where I start to be much more optimistic for our buyers, where I'm saying, hey, this is phase 11 of what was originally a 10-phase deal. They squeezed in some more property, the economics changed, but you are going to be one of the last people to buy a home in this neighborhood. There will not be brand new, very similar alternatives for you. The life cycle of this neighborhood is turned over. We're in year 7 of the development, so we're into that. Some of the first people are selling kind of time. So the value has stabilized. All the amenities are there. All the craziness of construction has probably come and mostly gone. And from a value perspective, you're not going to have to be up against a lot more of the same going on and on and on. So let me back away from that. I think we've made the point and people can be aware. But now I just want to ask the two of you, as agents on the ground working with buyers all the time, when someone comes to you and says, we're open to new construction, but we're totally cool with an existing neighborhood as well, what does that conversation look like? What are some of the trade-offs? What do people view as pros and cons? And then how do you kind of coach them towards their best outcome?
I think the biggest pro and con is considering new construction is a little further out. That's going to be the number one consideration. People are trying to compare, hey, I can get a newer house, more square footage, more bang for my buck potentially compared to if you were considering a pre-built home in the same square footage, same price range. Obviously, the the new construction piece is going to outweigh what your 80s, 90s, early 2000s house is going to, you're going to obtain with your dollar. I think that's the biggest weight that goes at the beginning.
Yeah. So you got a bunch of different issues there that you just mentioned. I think they're all relevant. There was recently an article, Zillow made it well known, but there was a bunch of research done. And then there was a tweet that got passed around like virally on the internet. And it brought up one point that I think represents a lot of other points. And it was just an issue of mature trees. Mm-hmm. When properties have mature trees, the value of that property is higher than you would think. The difference in the value increase is significant. And oftentimes it's tens of thousands of dollars of value, with the only difference being mature trees. So the argument in the article was pretty victim mentality, if you're asking me. But it was basically these mean old builders clear cut everything, and they still make great money, but they're hurting the homeowner, which I think is a little bit silly. But I think the point that it does illustrate is the value of maturity. And trees were the example here, but it could be landscapes. It may be the amenities that we talked about earlier, Mari. It may be non-trees. It may be bushes and shrubs in the entrance to the neighborhoods. It may be just the maturity of the sewer systems and things like that, where you've got the drainage and all that is worked out. What do you see when you're talking about the trade-offs between new construction and existing neighborhoods that buyers are actually drawn to, or sometimes that they're a little bit worried about?
Okay, so you talked about the trees. I have clients who just say they love mature trees.
Me, same here. I mean,
they love
my kids call me the Lorax.
Yeah.
I speak for the trees.
I don't think they think of all the other, indirect effects of trees and whatever. But also, just a lot of it has to do with location. Yeah. Because new builds are happening kind of more on the outskirts. Of course, they're all over DFW, and I think we're going to get into that a little bit later. But yeah, they tend to be on the outskirts because we're expanding out in a radius. So trees and all the indirect things that have with that, but also location really takes a precedent and is a big priority.
Yeah, one of the commentaries here, again, you're not going to see me like out vocally advocating on behalf of builders a lot, because I think there's a lot of bad business that happens in the builder community. But it's not wrong for a home builder to do what it takes to have the appropriate economies of scale to build homes for people. And a lot of times that does mean clear cutting or buying ranch land that never had trees in the first place. It also means things like grading soil. And so you are losing some topsoil. I drive around and I see new neighborhoods going in on this white caliche rock. And I'm thinking, because I like to grow things, they're never going to grow anything there. They're going to have like 6 inches of clean fill dirt that they've brought in to build on. So all those just speak to the location, what's there, the infrastructure, the soil type, the water management, basically the overall maturity of land. And so oftentimes I know when I'm talking to people that want to buy, I'm asking them, what's important to you? Of course, it's going to be bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage, school districts, commute, all that. Of course, we're talking about that. But then it's a question of like, what's the feel you're looking for? And occasionally someone will say, man, I've always dreamed of living on a tree-lined street. Okay, well, builders will line the entrance to their community with trees. It's just that those trees are like 6 months old.
Baby trees.
Right, yeah. Or do you want to be over in the River District? Or do you want to be over here in parts of Fairview that have massive live oaks that have been there for maybe 100 years and they've carefully built around it or constructed or developed around it? Or that home's been there that long and you want to remodel it or tear it down? Or do you want to live in it and appreciate the history? Those are part of the trade-offs between new construction and existing. Now, we do have to point out, because we've hinted at some of the negatives here pretty significantly. And so we do have to get to what I think are some of the negatives, the dangers of new construction that quite often home buyers don't know about. And then even when confronted with, oftentimes they think they're being manipulated by a real estate agent to use the real estate agent. So Gibson, I'm going to ask you, and I don't think there's any way you're going to be able to keep me from diving in or keep Mari from diving in here, but what are some of the bad aspects of working with some builders? We're not saying all builders, but what are some of the big negatives of when a home buyer goes to work with a builder? What could happen? What do they need to be cautious about?
Yeah, it's that first piece that I had discussed of just overexposure. You've got a builder with their own contract, their own lending company, and sometimes title company, and obviously they are constructing the end product in which you are pursuing this whole dream on. So that's a tough piece. Obviously, the accountability for them as well. You know, the amount of times that I have always endorsed our clients to get a third-party inspection for a home, and the pushback a builder immediately has. Hey, we have our own inspectors. We've had to pass different zonings and permitting throughout this entire process. Why are you getting a third party? And it's just like, hey, this is a couple...
Because my client's about to spend $600,000.
Right, and it's a couple $100, even if you have your own inspector. That's great. But we are going to get a third-party inspection, and just the pushback I get from builders on that alone.
I've gone 16 minutes without saying anything, which is a long time for me.
We're glad to have you.
Can I add something?
You may.
People get hosed on the cost that they spend to add upgrades and things.
Oh, you mean builder upgrade pricing isn't accurate?
It's a little bit above what you might consider regular
Courtney would just pay what they ask.
She
Give
would.
it to me.
She likes it.
So illustrate that a little bit better. Let's just say you're at a builder and they're like, hey, we're going to throw in a granite kitchen upgrade for you of $18,000.
Seems a little expensive. Well, yes. So let's say like the granite piece of it, right? So you can go to a store, you can get a vendor
Local
from
contractor.
a trusted partner.
Yep.
They can go and get the granite wholesale and install it, and you might be looking at a quarter of the price of that.
Right.
But
regularly half or less. Yeah.
But people will take the easy route and say, well, I don't want to mess with it once I've moved in and all this other stuff. So I'll just do the easy thing, and I'll just have them install it for me. And they don't realize how much they're out of pocket.
Or because that is true, it could be more negotiable. Yeah. Right. The other thing to talk about, and I know Gibson, probably Mari, one or both of you want to jump in on this, is that when you're working with a home builder, you're working with their contracts. Okay, so their contracts written by a team of their attorneys to protect who?
The builder.
That's right. I'm glad you got that one right.
Yeah.
Okay, so for example, what can you do in a resale contract? We're licensed real estate agents, brokers, professionals, and so we have to use forms that are promulgated. Promulgated basically means created by a big group of attorneys to be used universally by licensed agents to advocate, protect, to keep the consumer from being terribly harmed. Okay, so that's what we're normally working with. What can you not do with a builder in their contracts normally that you could typically do with a home seller for your buyer? Is the question making sense? How are you limited with the builder contracts?
Well, the builder has their, like you said, has their attorneys written it up. It's very builder specific, and it's in the best interest of the builder. And so I think a lot of people don't take the time to read through all those paragraphs. Yeah. Like, no, it's good. They got me. Well, there's paragraphs in there with verbiage that says, hey, for example, this could be just an example, like you're going to be paying for the title policy and you are going to use this title company. Well, did you know that you don't have to use their title company? You can use whatever title company, but they just write it in there from the get-go. And if you don't know what you're looking at, you don't know what you're seeing or what even to just take note of.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. That's right.
They do say that.
Yep.
I'm not sure I know what that means, but
well, it means you don't know what you don't know.
It does mean that for
sure. If you knew it, then you would know it, but you don't know it, you don't know it.
Obviously, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a couple of other things I want to point out. The builder contracts, and this doesn't always mean they're shady dirt bags, but sometimes it can. They're clearly out to protect themselves, right? So they're going to say this is when the home's going to be constructed. But if it's not, this is what we can do then. We can take more time. We can extend. But if you are not at closing on time within 10 minutes, here's all the penalties and repercussions for you. Yeah. So it's not a real fair back and forth negotiation. Those things are not even open to discussion. Obviously, these builders, again, have large economies of scale that they do have to meet to be able to build a home for us. If you were to go build the same house a builder builds for you, one house, one lot by yourself, it would cost you a lot more to build it because they're buying the material and the labor and all that for 40 houses at a time, for 2,000 homes. All those things are true. It doesn't mean it's best for you, though. So you need to be very cautious about the limitations, the deadlines, the penalties, the upgrades. Often, a lot of times, the builder's rep, their salesperson who is not almost never a licensed real estate professional. So they're not held to the fiduciary responsibility, the ethical boundaries of caring for the client and the client's best needs. They owe their loyalty to the builder, and that's okay. It's just that people are often not aware of that. So the builder reps will often say, it's better if you don't use a real estate agent. We'll give you a discount of part of their fee or all of their fee. When in reality, the builder's economics have almost always already built in the cost of the agent, and they don't want an agent involved because they know agent advocated deals are always better for the buyer. The buyer's going to save the money on the upgrades. The buyer's going to be more protected from the inspections. The buyer's going to have better updates and information along the way. The builder's going to be less likely to delay and more likely to compensate for any unavoidable delays. So these are all just a handful of things that agents do to lead, guide, and advocate for buyers during the process that truthfully builders don't necessarily like. Other times, if you come to a builder and you already have an agent, here's what they're saying to the agent. Hey, we're going to pay you, but you don't even have to do anything. You don't have to be involved, because they don't want the agent involved, because they don't want that agent to lead and guide and advocate for you, the buyer, because that's going to cost the builder less flexibility. It might cost them some time and money. They might get caught with their hand in the cookie jar on the old upgrade trick or on the old lot switch, on the date changes and all that. We could go on and on and on, but for the sake of the episode, it's just important that you know not all builders are shady dirtbags, but almost all builders are going to put their wants and needs first, where a real estate agent doesn't do that, can't do that, is regulated by licensing law not to do that. To go into a builder without an agent would be like going into a massive court scenario in a courtroom, or we'll just use the $600,000 example again. You're being sued for $600,000, or you have $600,000 on the line, and you go in with no attorney. As a matter of fact, you're going to use their attorney. An attorney that's on their staff is sitting by you on your side. And then over on their side is 57 attorneys, the builder and all their reps. The question could be asked, why do they want you to use their title company and their lender? Why are there all these incentives? And some of it is just maybe because they can control the quality and make sure these deals get closed and funded. Some of it oftentimes has been found out to have a little bit of financial incentivizing going on to make sure that you don't have as many choices or as much involvement. So again, I'm not saying it's always bad. I know some great builders. If you're looking to buy and you want to work with a great builder, reach out to us. Gibson, Mari, the rest of our team can help you determine, is this a quality structure? Is this a quality person? Is this a trustworthy company? Is this an area that meets your needs and your goals? And so new construction is not bad. But there's a wild lack of information for home buyers who are considering new construction, and it's often very, very harmful through the process. So I think I've probably answered a bunch of the questions that we were going to get to. But Mari, either of you, Mari and Gibson, where are a lot of the new construction communities going in around the Metroplex right now? Where are you taking people that they're really interested in new construction right now?
Well, on the Fort Worth side, you're looking pretty far west and north. So there's some big new build communities north, like towards Argyle.
Yep.
And then if you're wanting a home on land, there's some builders building on 1, 2, 3 to 5 acres out in Weatherford.
Yep.
There's also a big neighborhood just west of Benbrook that has many phases still to go. So they're kind of on the outskirts.
Is that Walsh Ranch?
Walsh is in Aledo, but the Ventana is in just west of Benbrook.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you look at the map here, you can see if you're catching us on video, the number of active new construction properties on the market, right? So Southwest Fort Worth, you got almost 400 options. Northeast Dallas, you got a couple hundred options. This is not all the new construction out there. If you're catching just the audio here, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new construction properties that are actually on the internet that you can view. A lot of new construction never makes it to be publicly marketed through real estate agents or on the MLS or on realtor websites. You can only access them through the builder, and that's what a lot of them want. They want you, the buyer, to contact them directly without your agent. So Gibson, what should people do not to be taken advantage of in that situation?
Have an agent, number one. And then on top of that, you're going to need to be in line with MLS pricing as well as new home sources. I think is probably the number one resource that I'm looking at recent sales and pricing. So
yeah, so you're going to want an agent, but not just any agent. You're going to want an agent who's doing what Gibson just said, right? Who's aware of who's building, where they're building, what inventory's out there, what price points, what quality, what's the track record, and of course, working with agents like Gibson and Mari, who have worked with these builders time and time again, is a great resource. So Gibson over on the Dallas side, Mari on the Fort Worth side.
Bring us with you. When you go check out these communities, bring us with you. We want to come.
Yeah, so you don't want to go get, pitched, get enticed sitting face to face with the builder rep. We have people that will once or twice a year be like, oh, well, over the weekend, we didn't want to bother you. We just drove out there and met with them. Now, you can survive that if you say, I have an agent. Her name is Mari Arstein. Here's her phone number. Here's her brokerage. Like, I showed up and I told you right when I got here that I already had an agent. And so then you'll have an agent involved. But the train is moving down the track at that point. Your heart is invested. Your eyes have gotten big. You're salivating about the opportunity. They sold you on that unique floor plan before, hopefully not, but in this scenario, before you put in some discipline, you put in some decision-making plans. We always say you want to slow down before you speed up. Now, Ian, I know you've got some data and you've got kind of some map info and stuff like that. So we shot from the hip a little bit. Mari talked about Aledo, Walsh Ranch, Weatherford. I threw out some big round numbers, but where is the data telling us that builders are kind of going? What's the status of new construction in DFW? Where should people be looking?
Todd, you can find it all over the Metroplex, sir. We have some maps that will show you.
And what you don't know,
Cue the maps.
No. Okay, so
where's my maps?
Okay, maps are coming. If you're on video,
there we go. Look at that. To the I feel like a weatherman. If you look to the south of Dallas, you will see new build homes in the Hutchins area and the Cedar Creek area, Red Oak. They've got new homes. If you move up towards the east, you're gonna get.
If you're on audio only, you've got to get to YouTube so you can see his weird weatherman hands that he's doing.
Move to the east, and you're gonna get towards the Crandall area. Mm-hmm. We have new builds over there. Balch Springs. We have new builds over there. Next map, cue it.
While he's doing that, let me just suffice it to say these are active, okay? So not all builders put their homes active on the internet, but there were probably 600 homes in that south and east of Dallas region that Ian was just referencing.
200 plus just to the east of Prosper, where the weather is going to be slightly cloudy today. Princeton, they've got over 300 new builds that are listed. And if you like to get over towards the Krugerville area, who doesn't, you're going to find at least 140 active homes in the Krugerville area. Here's what I'm going to point out. You're noticing that a lot of the cities that I'm saying are not what you would quote the more popular cities.
They're not Dallas and Fort Worth?
Or McKinney or Plano or Allen. They're not like the ones that people think of, right? They're on the outskirts of all of these cities. The good news is construction is everywhere on the roads. If you want to get stuck in a traffic queue, you can, because all of these are adding lanes to the roads, and you can be stuck for hours. But new construction's out there, folks.
So glad he said queue. That's really the best thing that just happened. Okay, so hopefully what you're hearing from Ian, and then we'll go to the experts on the ground before we wrap up, is that you got options for new construction all over the Metroplex, northeast, southwest, and everywhere in between. Clearly, some of the inner urban areas, older, more mature, suburbs have been, for the most part, built out as far as new neighborhoods. That doesn't mean you can't find a lot. You can't find an infill 8-home community. That stuff's happening everywhere too. But when you're talking about hundreds of options, choose your lot, choose your plan, those are going to be on that outer ring. Some on the much farther out ring, if, like Mari said, you're interested in a larger lot, bigger backyard, more acreage. So all that being true, what's hot right now? What are people excited about? If we were saying, hey, in the next year, where do we think buyers are going and where are builders building to entice people to go? What's popular right now?
I think Melissa and Anna are your biggest pops right now. Princeton was a little bit ahead, but I think more has stretched north to 75. Before we know it, I think Oklahoma's border is going to be a lot closer to us here in the Metroplex. And then Obviously, your southern half of DFW, I think, is probably where the most opportunity is, specifically Dallas.
I asked one of our other team members, David Goss, the same question that you just asked Gibbo.
He was reporting clearly on the Dallas side as well. We'll go to Mari here
And
in a
he
second.
said,
But first,
Fate and Royce City are blowing up.
yep, far northeast of the Dallas side.
Princeton is nuts. Selena, obviously.
Salina.
Melissa. Tomato. Salina. What did I say?
Selena.
Close enough.
Don't cry for me,
Melissa
Argentina.
and Anna.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's the east side. Now, Mari, what's happening over on the Fort Worth side?
Okay, already kind of touched on it, but north you got Argyle.
Yeah.
You got Aledo and Weatherford. to the
Argyle's
west.
got a lot of acreage property too, as well, right? Yep. Okay.
And then those like big communities like Harvest.
Yep.
Where they've got, a community garden and a
Right.
community coffee shop and things like that.
Yep.
And then you got Ventana and Benbrook. And then south in Crowley, we're building all along Chisholm Trail Parkway.
Yep.
All
Like
along
big neighborhoods with thousands of homes. And then just to speak about it again, Walsh Ranch has gotten a lot of publicity, but there's a lot of other large developments in that area right now. There's golf courses coming in.
yeah.
As you get out towards Weatherford, you're getting into the acreage property again. You're seeing some unique semi-custom and fully custom development. And of course, like we said, if you're looking for something really unique, there's infill construction, there's tear down rebuild stuff that's happening all the time. We have great relationships with custom builders. So new construction is an option, and it's a good option for the right people in the right situation. Oftentimes, though, we find that people were enticed by new, and really what they wanted was quality, what they wanted was convenience, and they don't end up buying new construction. So we're fine to help you either way. Our agents are very, very, very well versed in advocating and protecting you so that you can have a great experience, whether you're buying existing homes or whether you're buying new construction, regardless of where it is. We have agents on the team specializing in different parts of the Metroplex. If you wanted to reach out to Gibson or you want to reach out to Mari, you can find all their information on the website at toddtremonti.team.com. Below the video or near this audio is all of our contact information. That's what we do. We specialize in advocating and leading and guiding DFW area folks to buy and sell within the area, or folks that are moving to this area, maybe for a job transfer or to be near family or some other awesome reason, I hope. Reach out, let us know. We'd be happy to help. New construction is a good thing as long as it's not a bad thing. That's almost as good as what you don't know. But it can be a great deal for you, but you need to slow down before you speed up. You need to get a plan in place with a leader and a guide that can advocate for you. We're here to do that for you. If not us, make sure somebody does. Don't do this alone. ToddTremontiTeam.com. We'll talk to you guys on the next episode. Check out the audio, the video, download it wherever you get your podcast. Share it with a friend. And if this was helpful, leave us a review. We'll talk to you soon.